We're going to break down this card now. UFC Fight Night 212. And, you know, for the people that are, you know, the casuals that are kind of just into it, and just cut me off anytime, Quan, when you get that line. You know, when you're looking at this main event, a lot of people, unless you're really entrenched in MMA, you're not going to know who these guys are. But I can assure you that these guys are two very high pedigree, very talented fighters. You know, when I initially saw this fight, usually when I see a fight right out of the gate, I tend to lean one way, or I'm really confused a little bit on which way I'm going to go. I start thinking about it when I'm driving. I start thinking about it when I'm training, when I'm in the gym, or I kind of prime my mind to see where I'm going just for the information that I know, that I have right now of these guys before I jump in. And I was very confused. Like, I was like, wow, which way am I going to go on this one? Because there's a lot of narratives that can be played out here, you know. And after I did all of my film work and my thinking and my writing notes, and I have a dictator that I actually, when I'm watching film, I'll dictate to myself. Even after all that, I was confused. And I think this is going to be a really, 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 really tough fight for both guys. You got it?
I see minus 450 Canelo.
What? Minus 450?
Yeah.
That's insanity, dude. I got to look into that a little more. We're going to have a big breakdown for that. That's insulting. But then, you know, Triple G's older. He might have missed the window. So when I was really looking into this card, looking into this fight in general, I should say, you know, I really, really had to watch them very closely. I had to really follow all their nuances. And one thing with Gamrot that I noticed is that he's a very patterned fighter, where Tsarukyan Armin is very goes with the flow. He's very fluid. As the fight comes to him is how he dictates the pace, the pressure, the style, everything he does. Where Gamrot likes to have the control. He likes to dictate what's going on. But as he's doing that, he kind of runs the same pattern. And that can work in Armin's favor. And the patterns I see with him is, if you look at Gamrot, now this is a guy who he dropped a fight to Khalidze, the guy who just fought last week. And it was a good fight. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a good fight. But I did notice things in that fight that I did not like. And the thing with him is, you know, when he takes his entries, you know, they're very, very, not telegraphed, but they're very predictable. He's very one-sided dominant with his striking. And even though he does switch it up and he will throw the other hand, he is dominant. And when you strike and you box and you understand like what's going on, it's very easy for you to tell if somebody is one hand dominant. It's almost like a basketball player that can dribble righty but can't dribble lefty. You could see that he's got that one dominant hand that he loves, and he's really not comfortable holding that hand. For instance, there was a couple times where this is one shot that he does like to take. He will stand up and he will throw, and then he will slip under and come up this way instead of using his other hand. Now, that is good to do because people are expecting you to come the other way. But after he does that, then he'll shoot on the level. And when he shoots on his level, now you got to understand that a fighter, you have to protect two levels when you're dealing with someone like Gamrot, or dealing with a wrestler, or dealing with a grappler. You're just not standing up here and you're not guarding your body. You're not slipping and ripping. You got to defend your legs. What does that do in turn? It stops you from letting go of your hands, because you got to keep a certain amount of range. You can't just let leather fly, because if you let too much fly, you load up and you just start opening them up. You start opening up and turning your punches over. They're going to change levels. The thing that is dangerous with Gamrot is when he changed levels, he really fucking changed levels. He goes right down, way past the knee. I mean, this guy's going for ankle picks and stuff like that. So he goes really, really, really deep. The problem with that is when he does that, he exposes his head. Majority of the time, he's coming on an angle. He's coming off the center line. But there were times in a lot of his film where I see that when he does take his shot, and he always does it, he'll parry, he'll come under off the center line, he'll rip, he'll go under. and he exposes all here. Now, if you're getting someone like an Adrian Yanez, I'm not saying like I'm throwing names out there, guys who really know timing, they're going to come up with something. They're going to stab you when you're coming in, you know, and sting you, and that can be an issue for him. But what he does do good is when he does finally get in on you, he's got a great series of a multitude of trips, and he's very good with shift differential. And what I mean by that is he will use the momentum of your body weight to take you down. And that is something that he's good. The thing that I don't like about him on the flip side is, you know, people look at it from a DraftKings perspective, right? And they're like, wow, look, Gamrot. Gamrot's fucking got 5 takedowns, 4 takedowns, 6 takedowns, 3 takedowns. And that all looks good on the numbers, right? It looks great on the numbers. But at the end of the day is the reason why he's accumulating all these takedowns is because he's not holding the fighter in position. He's not holding his opposition in position. He doesn't have that weight distribution that's able to hold him down for long periods of time. And that can be a problem. You know, that could be a problem for someone like Arman, who is well-balanced and well-rounded everywhere. And he is. He's very well-balanced. Now, I don't agree with this line. The line here is minus 285. The comeback on Gamrot is plus 240. I think that's fucking lunacy. On DraftKings, 9,100 and 7,100. I think that's lunacy, too. I think this fight is very, very close. But I think those little things that I just described, how he kind of runs the same pattern all the time. He's got that same shot. I mean, if he's not going on the center line, he's just coming kilter right, kilter left. You know what I mean? It's very, very readable what he does. And by him being a little bit more, you know, love dominant on one side of his striking, that doesn't give you a lot it makes you focal point more to that than opposed to all these different avenues where he could be coming. And then you got a guy in Arman who's a very good wrestler. And he can get takedowns of his own, and he's a very good striker, and he's very cerebral in his approach. This is a guy who fought Islam Makhachev, who in his debut, and literally lost the fight, but there were spots in that fight that were bright, shining spots for him. He put Islam in some situations that I haven't seen Islam in since he's been in the UFC. So, you know, the kid's a talented fighter, but at the end of the day, was it a really good showing? Has he had a really good fucking showing? Did Gamrot just have a really bad showing in his last loss, and now he's won 3 in a row? Like, we don't know. These guys are both super fucking technical. And to say minus 185 to Arman is crazy to me. I think this is a lot closer. I am picking Arman to win the fight, though. I'm going to pick Arman by decision. I just think he's going to be a little bit more technical. I think he's going to be able to capitalize once he starts reading the nuances and reading that similar pattern that I talked about, that one-hand dominance, that the real low shot that he takes. And I think there's going to be situations where, you know, he's not going to get those clean looks that he expects. That's going to allow Arman to possibly counter, turn things around, maybe put him up against a cage and get his own takedown. So, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a very, very good fight. I would not run to the window and dump money on Arman at 285. If you are a Gamrot fan and you do support Gamrot and you want him to win this fight, I don't have a problem with you if you wanted to take a small stab at plus 240. I think there's a little bit of value on Gamrot there. I'm just not going to do it because I don't think he's going to win the fight. I think this kid's the real deal. I think Arman's the real deal. I think he's been showing that. Not that Gamrot's not, but like I said, I just think he's a little bit more fluid in his approach, transitioning from striking to grappling, and how the fight approaches him. He lets the fight approach him where Gamrot kind of pushes against the grain, trying to create things that he wants to create. So I'm going to go Arman. I'm going to go Arman by decision. Next fight, you got Neil Magny versus Rachmanov. Very twisted on this fight. I'm very fucking twisted on this fight. Oh, let's go real quick, DraftKings. So from a DraftKings perspective, it's a 5-round fight. I think it's going to be a high active fight. And I think Tsarukyan can cover, 9-100 in a fight like that. Transitions, takedowns, high octane on both ends. Both of these guys are going to look to bring it. Usually when you get two really technical guys, it could be a chess match on the ground. There could be a boatload of submissions, reversals, and stuff like that. So I'm looking for these guys to score. Gamrot obviously to me holds a little bit more value at 7,100 in a 5-round fight because he's super talented too. But like I said, whoever you decide to choose on this, I think should be fine. And I think Armin should cover that if they, even if they do go to the cards.